Man, New York wrestling crowds certainly hit different, don't they? I'm John Renton with my review of AEW Dynamite from Rochester, New York. We have a new TNT champion, Wardlow, Wardlow, Wardlow. The world celebrates Wardlow's world, as it were. And other things occurred as well on the show. Some good, some and a few things that made me say, well, I don't know how much thought they put into that particular segment, but more would have helped. Let me know your thoughts on this show in the comments, please. The crowd was certainly electric. Dun 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 dun. Anyway, if anybody gets that reference, please let me know in the comments. One thing I want to note, I like what they're doing with the commentary. They're using JR sporadically for the second hour of Dynamite to call Rampage, call the occasional match on pay-per-view. The man has a lot of health issues, has a wealth of wrestling knowledge, but it's obvious that when he's out there too long, he gets cranky, and I don't blame him. Also because some of the stuff that he's calling isn't exactly really very good. And just use him occasionally. Excalibur and Taz are a good duo. Even though Excalibur gets a little bit over exuberant and sometimes gets a little bit too rapid fire, he knows his shit. Him and Taz have a good rapport. I don't even mind Shivani. I'd say get Kevin Kelly over here, but he's doing New Japan commentary. Get Caprice Coleman and Ian Riccaboni there. Rotate people in and out. I know they're calling Ring of Honor, and they're trying to get Ring of Honor a TV deal. Cycle people in and out. Keep the commentary fresh. Anyway, nevertheless, Wardlow gets a big pop. Scorpio Sky comes out with American Top Team. I have no idea who any of those people were besides Dan Lambert, the sheepish lion Dan Lambert. It's a street fight for the TNT Championship, and hey, Wardlow chants, and they use the numbers advantage, and he'll use a low blow, and the only weapon used was the TNT Championship. Wow, you don't need to use trash cans and garbage can lids and chairs and thumbtacks and all this shit in a street fight. You could just have a heel cheat. You could just have some basic stuff, and then Wardlow wins with the Powerbomb Symphony. Wow. What a fucking concept. Maybe if they did more shit like that in every company, didn't overutilize, all the weapons, just made it where it's a match that you use weapons in instead of having weapons and you build the match around that. That's not how that fucking works. That's not how you should fucking do it unless a big blow off like Blood and Guts, and I did my review of that last week, but nevertheless, new TNT champion Wardlow. I feel bad for Scorpio Sky in this respect. Wardlow had to win. I got nothing against Wardlow winning. Scorpio should have been a dominant TNT champion, should have not been doing this hot potato shit with Sammy Guevara, and he should have had a run for a while. And then you could have had this and it would have meant even more. Wardlow is champion. It's a big deal. This is cool. I did like how American Top Team interfered in this match. And again, I have no idea who they were. But nevertheless, Wardlow wins. He's a new TNT champion. Have him run with it until the beginning of 2023. And then Moxley cuts a promo about surprises and facing Brody King and knowing Brody King's friends and enemies and all this. And this went a while. And then Sterling has a petition, people against Swerve Strickland, to get him removed from the roster because he's a snake, because he stabs people in the back. So Sterling, who has stabbed people in the back and continues to be a caricature of a lawyer, is upset that Swerve Strickland is trying to win matches. That's pretty much what we're coming up with. He talks to Keith Lee, who basically blows him off. Like, yeah, we've had our issues, but we're tag partners, and we're teaming up tonight. Here's Christian Cage and Luchasaurus. Everyone wants answers. Here's Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy calls him the Michael Jordan of assholes, and he keeps topping himself. And then Christian Cage says, you're starting to make your brother seem like the sober one. Ouch. And Christian has been friends with Jeff for a while, so I'm sure he's plenty frustrated. Matt was upset. And there's asshole chants, and they're, just how they both use talents to get money and stuff like that. This is something you guys should go and check out, because Christian really has been killing it with these promos. The problem is we've seen his heel stuff before. He did similar stuff like this in TNA. Maybe not quite as biting, but pretty close. And he says, you'll do anything. You'll even, turn a blind eye to your brother's issues to ride his coattails to get one more dance with glory. And then Matt attacks him. Well, actually, it was a bit of an awkward exchange. Matt tries to attack Luchasaurus, but then gets posted and then gets chokeslammed through the table. So, yeah, it was a bit ridiculous. Also, one thing I did forget to mention about the TNT Championship, they put up all this confetti for Wardlow, and it's the opening match. So you saw all this gold stuff around the goddamn, right underneath the barricades and stuff like that. And it was kind of fucking crazy. It looked like somebody spilled like plates of nachos all over the goddamn deal, but nevertheless, this was pretty good so far. Like, I'm not so sure about Luchasaurus as a heel. I think it's a little bit too late to really try and tweak his character. But that being said, okay, Christian and Matt Hardy were doing this again, except flipped because Christian's now the heel. My thing is there are good parts to this. It also feels a bit recycled. Blood and Guts package, 2.0 or the former 2.0, whatever they are, they were bleeding like crazy. And then we cut to Claudio and Hager. It is going to take a while for me to stop writing Cesaro on my notes, just so you know, because he was Cesaro for so long, even though he's Claudio before that. Hager should never talk. Ever. The guy's a fucking idiot. Claudio, almost as Cesaro, needs a goddamn mouthpiece. It's not that he isn't well spoken, it just doesn't translate that well to wrestling, in my opinion. They're going to have a match next week. Claudio is going to herniate every disc in his body trying to carry this sack of shit to a good match. And then the Butcher and the Blade with the Bunny. Sweet Christ, the Bunny. Whew, okay, good. Good to see them back. Good to see. Moving on. They took on Swerve in Our Glory. Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. But can they get along? So, I don't know why Butcher decided to steal Berserker's boots. If you get it, you get it. Whose house? Swerve's house. We did get a bit of a weird leapfrog botch. I don't really know what that was about. I don't know if that was intentional. I'm not really sure. It looked weird. Lee does accidentally end up hitting Swerve. Didn't mean to. He does save Swerve to some boos because it seemed like the count was held up a little bit. There were a few botch counts on this show. And then eventually they hit the stomp bomb, whatever you want to call it. 1, 2, 3, and there you go. Butcher and Blade lose. So basically, what's going to end up happening is I think Swerve and Lee are going to break up pretty soon. Here's Hobbs and Starks. Starks is on. Hobbs didn't cut a bad promo here. He was a little bit too fired up. Starks dialed it back and fired up like only he can. He's fucking tremendous. just absolutely killing him on the mic. Check this shit out. Unfortunately, the Bucks also show up. They take credit for the tag division, ignoring the fact that pretty much right out of the gate there were better tag teams than them and they just can't fucking stand it. They gloat about star ratings from a guy that can't keep his goddamn room in order. Take a look at Meltzer's room. My fucking goodness. Papers all over the goddamn floor. That is like a hazard waiting. That's like a biohazard area. But FTR chants, oh, we're better than them. No, you're fucking not, Bucks. You're not. They can't fucking stand the fact that they are maybe the 5th best tag team in their goddamn company. I mean, they may say they're the best tag team of all time. They ain't even fucking close. I could honestly name 50 tag teams that are better than them. I praised some of their matches before, but FTR should be in this match. They're not going to be. It's going to be a 3-way match next week. Swerve in Our Glory, Starks and Hobbs again, and the Bucks. Okay, another 3-way match. They're overdoing it on these multi-man matches. A lot of companies are. Malachi Black pre-tape about violence and pain, and Malachi is well-spoken. This was not a good representation of that. Eddie Kingston comes out to a big pop. Shivani interviews him. Eddie praises Wardlow, even praises Claudio, because apparently they have heat or issues going back years. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I'm not in their heads. I don't have a clue. And then Eddie wants Jericho. Well, then we cut to the back where Jericho's yelling and Ruby, in a very stagey way, is trying to climb badly to this door, this car door that's open, and Ty Conte slams it. And then they run off. They did 20 takes, and that was the best one. Jericho, by the way, is fucking washed. He can't fucking do anything good anymore. He's not worth any of the money that he's being paid by AEW. This was fucking ridiculous. And also Ty Conte and Jericho against Ruby and Eddie. Or is it going to be Sammy? I don't fucking know. God damn it. Ty Conte, her stock has fallen so goddamn dramatically, just like she's fallen under the dick of every... And moving on. Just, I don't need to see her, Sammy, on television. And I don't need to see... This is bad. Because remember, Eddie beat Jericho, if I recall correctly. Yes, then Jericho turned heel-ish more, and Eddie's been going after him ever since, but I don't know. This whole feud isn't very good. This was a really bad segment. But anyway, Dark Order and -1 come out because it's Brody's hometown. Brody Jr., okay. Anna Jay, my goodness. They talk about how the 6 of us are here to stay. Dark Order is forever. A proclamation cut off by QT. This is where it got stupid. He talks about how long we're going to keep up with this charity case until he actually turns 18 and he challenges -1. Then here's Hangman Page. We get a brawl. Cowboy shit chance. And then Brody says, well, QT, I could pin you right now because everybody beats him down, but I'm going to wait until I'm 18. I don't think QT's going to be wrestling that long. I don't think QT's going to be wrestling another 3 years. He'll probably be training for a while. But anyway, JR comes out for the second hour. And I don't know why Penta still has the tombstone and the shovel. Nevertheless, Roosh makes his entrance in a bull mask. Apparently he's called the White Bull. I have only seen a couple of Roosh's matches. Penta took on Roosh with flippy-floppy shit and chops and weirdness and awkwardness. And I met Penta. Penta's a nice guy. Penta is talented. You have to know what you're getting with. You have to just know what to accept with these matches. Alex and Jose battle at one point. We then go to break. We get a lot of no-selling, and then we get selling out of nowhere. Very weird psychology in this match. And then at one point, Andrade El Olio puts Roosh's foot on the ropes. And then that leads to a low blow, and then the mask pulled off, and then 1, 2, 3. So, okay. All right, that match happened. It occurred. And then Death Before Dishonor plug. Lethal versus Joe. Lethal, he is so ready to beat Joe. And Giant Silva Jr. has no business being there. Dutt was fired at whatever. So, Sterling then talks to Orange Cassidy, who says he won't sign that petition. He doesn't sign anything without his lawyer. Then Danhausen shows up, who's apparently a lawyer. I don't know why this is a thing. I also don't know why they're wearing tie-dye clothes. It's going to be Cassidy versus Nice. If Orange Cassidy loses, then he will sign the petition and Swerve will be gone? The fuck was this? Caster's rap gets cut off by the Gun Club because they're pissed about last week after losing that match, and it's acclaimed in the Gun Club. It's Bear Country, Leon Ruffin, I think is his name, and Fuego del Sol. It was more about the Gun Club and Acclaim not getting along. Blind tag from Austin Gunn, and he gets a cover 1, 2, 3. And then Billy Gunn steps in, sides with his boys, and beats the shit out of Bowens. Okay, there we go. Fine. We're getting the Acclaim full-fledged faces, I guess. Miro talks about Malachi and that how he will burn down the House of Black, and he so wants to kill God. I mean, I'm not opposed to Miro doing any of that. I was confused at first why Shafir and Nyla had umbrellas, and then, Thunderstorm. So we have Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm, a team that I love for strictly the in-ring skills and nothing else. How dare you accuse me of that? Okay, look, nobody with any kind of sense would be fine watching them. They're two talented and beautiful women. They can really goddamn do the wrestling. That's why I said talented first, because you gotta have the talent to succeed, and they really could make this team mean something. So it'll probably just be a special attraction match. And Nyla and Shafir, look, okay, Nyla has been botched from pretty much the very beginning. They should have used her as a monster. Should have been the first women's champion, not Riho. And ever since then, it's been stop, start, stop, start. Shafir is not good at all. She's not going to get any better. I don't care if she has MMA training. It is not translated to the ring. There were some good, heavy chops here, some good action when Shafir just was bringing us down. And Nyla at one point uses the umbrella, Ella, A. And then we get a spike DDT to Nyla, and then we get the Fire Thunder Driver with a stomp 1, 2, 3 on Shafir. So at least Shafir took the pin. And I love Thunder Rosa. I love Toni Storm. What talents. I love Nyla Rose. She should be used better. Shafir had no business being here. Stop. Don't do this anymore, Shafir. Stop. Nyla Rose, Thunder Rosa, Toni Storm. I wouldn't mind seeing that in a three-way match. But Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm as a team, good. So then we get Shivani with Jade, who tells Tony to cut the shit, yet Jade kept talking, and then Stokely talked. And Kira and Layla Gray, my goodness. She's an honorary baddie, or an interim baddie. I have no problem with more Layla Gray on my television. I'm not saying she's going to be the best ever in the ring, but she's shown improvement, and she looks fantastic. She does. She showed improvement on the various appearances on Dark and Dark Elevation, had appearances in NXT. Apparently they didn't want to sign her because they're idiots, and now she's here. Okay. So anyway, Stokely, and I don't even actually know if she's officially signed. Rampage. Takeshita, I assume I'm pronouncing it right, taking on Eddie Kingston. Mercedes Martinez and Serena Deeb in tag team action. Gresham and Moriarty against the Gates of Agony. Khan with a U and Toa Lanoa. And Cassidy versus Nice. And Fyter Fest Night 1 next week, apparently. Claudio and Hager in the three-way tag title match. And Death Before Dishonor plug. And Garcia is going to face Wheeler Yuta. Alright. FTR promo. They have all the tag gold except one that they really should have. They really should be the AEW Tag Team Champions. And they want to face off against the Briscoes at Death Before Dishonor. FTR versus Briscoes too. Okay. That ought to be fun. Regal joins commentary. Brody King makes his entrance. Wild Thing, you make Rochester sing. He is going to get that entire song in. They stuck with this for a few minutes after the hour ended, or a couple minutes. It was Moxley versus Brody King for the AEW Interim World Championship, and it was fine. It was a slugfest. They went outside for way longer than they needed to, and the referee didn't count it. And Brody, his big man moves. I've seen Brody King in numerous indie shows. Talented guy. Saw him at the New Japan Strong tapings. Talented guy. Big guy. And then we get Moxley trying to chop Brody down. At one point, he gets the cannonball in the corner. He does the hanging sleeper. That was a bit brutal. But then Moxley eventually ends up locking on the choke and gets the victory. And there you go. He retains the AEW Interim Championship, and that's really all I got to say about that. Hopefully, we get something good on Fyter Fest next week. It's not that we had anything bad, anything like absolutely offensive on this show. There were just a few bad moments, and really besides Wardlow winning the TNT Championship and Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm getting to team up and Nyla Rose getting a chance to shine, everything else just kind of blended together. Anyway, agree, disagree what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm Jar Wentland. I'll see you soon.